Welcome to the very first episode of Backstage, the Bachata Podcast, where we invite dancers to learn about them in a new light. My name is Lucy.
And my name is Jan. And today we sat down with Pebbles from the UK. We talked about her journey in dance and incorporating your own style, even if that means you won't appeal to everyone. We're very excited to have her as our first guest. So let's jump right into it.
Woohoo! All right. So, hi, Pebbles. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Haven't been bored once, which is a good thing. Keeping myself busy.
Well, we were really interested. What was your first interaction with basically the music and dance industry?
My first interaction? Oh my God. As in with bachata or dancing in general?
Well, dancing in general, I guess, and music in general.
Well, to be honest, my parents actually told me that I probably started dancing before I could walk. So, I don't even know what that looks like, to be honest. But I think because I've always been around music and dances my whole life, it kind of just was in the genes, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And then I started out with the cliche thing, like classical stuff, because, my mother thought I looked cute in a tutu, even though I hate it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I've just always had an attraction to it. I don't know. It's just something that naturally came out of me. With music, I grew up around a lot of boys who were at least 10 years older than me. And growing up with my dad, for example, he's a bit more of an old soul. So I've been around jazz and the blues and funk and all that sort of stuff. Mixed with old school hip hop from my cousins. So I don't know, I've just always been surrounded by music, and a lot of my relatives actually play instruments, funny enough. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
That's awesome. Do you play an instrument?
I actually play bass.
Wow.
I started playing a few years ago. Just a quick advice to everyone out there: it's never too late to learn something new. I've never played a bass a day in my life until probably I don't know, 5-6 years ago. Maybe being a dancer, I had the advantage of timing and rhythm and stuff. But I think the first time I picked up a bass, I got offered a gig on the very same day.
Wow. That's impressive.
I know. I was I don't even know why I said yes to it. And then I'm oh God, I need help. And I had a week to learn a whole set. And then it just kind of picked up from there, actually. So there's a really big pool for female musicians in the music industry. So it wasn't that hard getting work, if that sounds bad.
I mean, it doesn't sound bad, but I think we get what you meant.
Cool. I wasn't too sure that came across right.
Well, that sounds really interesting, though. Do you still play?
Actually, not as much as I would like to. Basically, when I started getting more work with Daniel, a lot of the work that we got booked for would clash with a lot of gigs that I started getting. And I was just oh no. So I always ended up double booking myself, and I couldn't do both. And obviously dancing's always been kind of, I guess, slightly more my first love, because music came shortly after. And I had to make the decision of which one I would give more of my time to. So I actually don't play as much as I would like to.
You were already teaching dance when you picked up playing the bass.
Yeah, I was already teaching at the time. Yeah.
Right.
So.
And what were your first steps into? I mean, you said you were dancing a lot, all kinds of styles. And what was your first touch points with Latin dances?
Oh, okay. So Latin didn't come till much later. I probably started when I was 16, 17, I'm going to say.
Right.
Before that, it was more contemporary, the classical stuff, really. Hip hop and R&B has kind of always been a part of my life. So I started with that really, really early. And so the Latin thing I kind of just fell into, I suppose. I remember I made some like Latin friends for the first, I think they were Cuban at the time, and they were like, yeah, Pebbles, we're going to this Latin club. Bear in mind, I'm only 16, 17. And I'm like, oh my God, is that even legal? And yeah, so that was, I think, the first club I ever went to that was Latin was probably the Bar Salsa in not Trocadero, in Tottenham Court Road. And I'm not gonna lie, I stood out like a sore thumb. Like you could so tell I was lost.
Oh, okay. I think we all were when we started dancing or when we entered the Latin scene. If it wasn't something, you were born into or family members did. I remember I was lost the same way.
And at the time, like, there wasn't many Asian people in the scene. So I'm a bit like, oh my God, where's all the other Asian people? So, yeah. And then I think this guy came up to me and he spoke to me in Spanish. Luckily, I understood more or less what he said. And he's like, do you want to dance? And I'm like, beginner. It was nothing. I literally was like, don't know basics. But because I've been watching the whole time, I was like, okay, I think I kind of got the basics of the salsa steps. So I think we're good on that. And kind of just been doing it ever since, really.
Wow, that's amazing.
It wasn't at the time, but yeah.
At the time, no, but like you have a really wide background in dance. I didn't even know you started with contemporary and all that. I did see, over social media, you do reggaeton, you've done hip hop, you do twerking, and you've even done collaborations with other dancers. Is this something you want to expand on, like even professionally, or do you just prefer to keep it like small projects here and there?
To be honest, I would like to expand on it because as much as I dance the styles that I dance, like I wouldn't say I was like proficient in one particular one. So like collaborating with other artists or even people that just do different styles in general, like it's nice collaborating with someone because you kind of like one, you probably learn something new. Even if you did the same styles, like I'd be like, oh, I've never done that before, or I didn't know that move, sort of thing. And then also it's just really cool seeing how people's minds work creatively that are different from mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to do more of that as well, to be honest. Just because I feel like we both get something, or even if there's more than two of us, we will get something out of it. I don't quite do it, like, oh, I just want to collaborate with someone just to get a video out there and sort of thing. Because to be honest, I actually don't like looking at videos of myself. I know it sounds really weird, but it's just because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So I'm just like, oh, I didn't extend my arm there properly. Stuff like that. Like, I can't help but look at my face because I'm very animated. I'm just like, why did I do that? Like, why is my tongue sticking out right now? Like, what's going on?
You're just living the music and the dancing. That's the best, no?
100%. Like, dance for me is always going to be my happy place. Like, it's always my bubble. It's my little bubble that no one can pop. So anything that comes my way dance related, I'm pretty much up for it. But sometimes I do get a little bit, I guess, drowned underneath all of it because so many come my way. So I don't get to go around doing all of them. But I try to do as much as I possibly can, really. But yeah, that's it, really. Like, I would love to collaborate a lot more. And I think not even with teachers, but it'd be really cool to collaborate with students as well. Because a lot of students I know have different like backgrounds as well, or they actually want to try something new and actually be like, it's not a collaboration, but I want to do something with you. So
just work with you, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really cool. I think that needs to be encouraged a little bit more, I think, in the scene.
Okay, yeah, because I also saw you have a ladies team, and then I saw some of the performances, and you fuse a lot of styles into it, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just because I don't have one fixed style. Like, I am stronger in some, but I'm not made up of just one specific thing. Like, you see some dancers that no matter what they dance, you're like, you can tell they're like a ballet dancer, like at the core, or you can tell that they're like with Daniel, for example, you can tell he's like a urban dancer at core, like sort of thing. But with me, I'm kind of like made up of so many things. So I'm like, I don't have to pick one. I can actually just do all of them if I wanted to. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, really.
Oh, definitely not.
The twerking thing, I'm kind of confused about because I'm like, I'm the advocate for twerking. What happened?
How did you ultimately come up with the style that you're dancing right now together with Daniel? Because looking at how you dance it's clearly not what like everyone is dancing, like bachata sensual. It goes, I guess, more into what you would say is like Dominican, but then there's obviously a lot of fusion in there as well. How did you go about finding that?
To be honest, Daniel and I have known each other for like, I'm going to say about 10 years. So we were actually friends before we became dance partners. I actually met him on the Latin scene when we were both salseros, you know, like we were only about salsa at the time. Actually, him and I used to teach at a university. He used to ask me to come and assist him at the time. We weren't partners then either. And he's got a bit of an urban, actually, he's predominantly an urban background. And partly the reason why we became partners was just because we're very good at feeding off each other with our vibes, like with the way we dance, for example. It's just, I can't even explain it. It's just a click with me and Daniel. Like, I'm very good at reading his, not even his moves, but just his vibe when he's into a song, for example. And also because I have somewhat of an urban background as well. Like, it's quite easy to click with him in that sense. But because we obviously have somewhat also very different styles, like we're very good at complementing each other, but then also having a moment for ourselves that kind of show it. So like with Daniel, you'll see him, he's like, yeah, he's very like hip hop and urban. For example, I used to do house, which is all footwork. So Dominican for me is actually quite easy. And coming up with footwork is actually quite easy.
I wish I could say the same.
So you were doing like the shuffle and cutting edges and all that kind of stuff. Cutting shapes, I think it's called, right?
Yeah, I knew the fundamentals of it, you know.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
And like my brother, I have a younger brother, he's a break dancer, and he loves footwork, like, and stuff like that. And he used to kind of teach me some stuff as well. Not that I would probably use it because I don't want to bring down the breaking community. I feel like, what was that? But it definitely helped with my Dominican, for example. When I actually understood it a little bit more, I was like, right, okay, this is actually not as hard as I thought it was. But yeah, like Daniel is just, you can just see that his core is urban. He's very like hip hoppy. So because I have that in my background, it's actually quite easy to adapt to that. So I'm quite an adaptive dancer, like follower with some people. Like when some people want to be super sensual, I can be super sensual and stuff like that. So I'm very much that kind of dancer, really. But with Daniel, it's very like, what does he call it? Musicality. You know, you got to kill.
Musicality.
I know. Everyone
love it.
Looks at me funny when I say that word. I'm like, hey, it's Daniel's word. I'm just using it. I'm just.
Honestly, you two, like you and Daniel, the energy you give out whenever you're giving classes or are at a festival is absolutely contagious. So I don't think, I mean, it works. In my head, it just works.
To me, it's something that I really admire about like your energy and your vibe also together with Daniel. I feel like the two of you, you're just so authentic and you can just like be yourself. I remember when I met you the first time in Prague, I instantly got that vibe of, you know, she's so open and honest. And if I see sometimes artists dance, I feel like, oh, you know, they're trying to be something maybe that they're not, or that they're pretending to be to play a certain role. With the two of you, I instantly felt that like you're so comfortable with who you are and your creation brand.
Actually, my next question, well, my question to you, Jan, was like going to be, was I drunk when we first met?
Right. I wanted to ask you that, but I thought I'm not sure if I should.
No, it's cool. Like, I know a lot of, I don't know, because a lot of people always like, yeah, Pebbles, you're a little bit drunk. And I'm like, you guys make me sound like an alcoholic.
No, I remember you told me that sometimes before you have a show that you're gonna have a couple of shots.
I told you that in confidence. It's
but I guess my question there is, and I'm not sure how you can answer that, but yeah, how are you able to be so like authentic and just being yourself, your crazy self, and not afraid to show that?
I think, well, okay, coming from a performer's, for example, perspective, like when I talk to my students or people that are nervous going on stage, and this is on anything, music, dance, anything creative, theatre, whatever, I always tell them, I'm like, the person you are on stage is the person you strive to be, if that makes sense. Like, for example, Daniel always gets nervous before going on stage. I think even up until this day, he still gets a bit nervous doing demos, for example. For me, personally, I'm like, the person I strive to be is the person that people see outside of dancing as well. Like, there's the Pebbles that is a teacher, or there's the Pebbles that dances socially, and then there's the crazy Pebbles that gets drunk and whatever. I'm like, I'm actually all of these things. And I don't pick moments where I'm like, okay, I want them to see this, I want them to see that. And I feel like the reason why people are, I guess if you want to say, drawn to people like me and Daniel, is because we show them that, you know, we are just people. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're relatable, for example. Like, Daniel and I swear. We probably shouldn't, because it's not very professional, but we do. You know, we make inappropriate jokes. You know, Daniel makes more dad jokes these days, but, you know, as his partner, I have to giggle to, you know, to back him up on that. You know, sort of thing. And also, I'm a firm believer in what's like the word I like to use is edutainment. So it's a mixture of education and entertainment. People learn and actually are more like pay more attention when something is more fun, when something is more relatable, sort of thing. And yeah, so, and it's exhausting. When I think about having to be different things at different times, it sounds exhausting. Like, my brain physically hurts thinking about it. I'm just like, no, this is, and also at the end of the day, I'm like, not everyone's gonna like you, you know what I mean? And and that's okay. Like, I'm actually fine with that, because then that means the people that do follow you, or the people that do genuinely take your classes, like you for you. You know, there's no sort of thing, and I can respect people's opinions either way. And yeah, it's just easier as well. And then you actually do form genuinely good relationships with people, whether it be teacher and student, or like with you guys, like I guess in a way you've taken classes from me and Daniel, but you're also like my friends as well. Do you know what I mean? Because we kind of connect on that kind of level. And I think that's like a lot more important to me, in all fairness, rather than I have to keep up this like facade that I'm the artist sort of thing. I'm like, no, I'm actually here because I enjoy what I do. Like, there is no hierarchy between me and you, for example. If you guys started teaching and I genuinely saw something I liked, I would actually go and take your classes. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's just one of those things where I don't feel like I have to pretend to be something that I'm not. Like, in all honesty, it just sounds exhausting. Like, I'm a very basic, simple person. I don't know if it's the Hawaiian side, but no.
Have you always been like that when it comes to like your professional dance career, or was there a learning process for you involved as well?
Maybe in the beginning when I mean, because I started teaching when I was probably about 17, 18. Yeah, I kind of fell into it. I was more like assisting, or I'd only ever teach beginners. You know, I was doing it all for free, sort of stuff, because my mentor at the time would like give me free classes. But obviously, being around that age, you're still kind of figuring yourself out. So for me, you know, and all the students are like double my age, or they're older than me, and I'm just like, oh my God, I have to be this authoritative teacher thing, and sort of thing. And I don't know, I think from the get-go, I just actually found that being myself actually worked for me, because I'm like a ball of positive energy. I don't like negative vibes. So, and also I like to think I'm quite compassionate and empathetic. So actually trying to put myself in other students' shoes, especially for beginners, because I taught beginners for a long time, it made it easier for me to be myself and actually be like, okay, I know what they need from me. Like a lot of students, they work 9 to 5, and learning from us is like a hobby, for example. It's not like a boot camp or anything like that. So it's like you want to make it fun for them, but you also want them to learn something at the same time. So I don't think it took that long for me to be the way that I am now. If anything, I've probably gotten worse over time. But like in the beginning, I was a little bit inexperienced in being myself. Let's just say that, inexperienced. But now, I don't know, probably after maybe the first couple of years, I was like, wow, I've actually found something I'm good at and makes me happy. And I think that's what made it easy for me, where I was like, holy crap. I was like, I'm actually good at something. Yeah, and I just didn't want to get into the bad habit of pretending to be something that I'm not when I'm working, if that makes sense. So, because then I know myself really well. I won't put my everything into it if I'm having to be something that I'm not. Like, I know it sounds so cliche, but I just won't. You can't feel my heart and soul into something if I'm not being myself, really, or if I don't enjoy it. So
if you could go back in time and give a 17 or 18-year-old Pebbles that just started teaching, if you could give her like one piece of advice to yourself, what would that be?
I think, honestly, be prepared to not be liked by everyone. I think, especially in a scene like ours, everyone just strives to be liked by everyone, which is why a lot of people start changing or conforming to something else. And at the time when I was younger, I wanted everyone to like me, sort of thing. And sometimes it would drive me so crazy that would push me to do things that I know wasn't really who I was, sort of thing, or it made me feel uncomfortable. So really, I would say, like, maybe 2 pieces of advice is: 1, be prepared to not be liked by everyone, and that is okay. And also that sometimes just from being yourself. Like, you could be the most amazing person in the world, God or Satan, whoever you praise, I don't know. It could tell you this person is like the best person in the world, but there are some people that you might not just click with, or some people that just aren't your vibe. Doesn't mean they don't like you, you just don't click. And I just wouldn't worry about things like that. And I did when I was younger, sort of thing. So yeah, I know it's so cliche as well again, but just be you. Like, honestly, 100% be you. Take that time to grow, go through the experiences that come your way. And also, don't be afraid to take opportunities that seem a little bit crazy sometimes. I'm very much a yes person now. Like, if, like, I always think, oh my God, is this ever going to happen again for me? Might not. Or it might in the future, but I'm like, but it's here right now. So how can I actually make that happen? Do you know what I mean? So I think me and 17-year-old Pebbles would be probably doing one of these conversations right now.
Well, I think it's really good advice, because I think a lot of people, almost everyone, can relate to this in some sort of way, one or another, just because as people, we do want to be liked. And we don't like it when people have negative thoughts of us, or I don't know, we do seek for that approval. So I think most people can definitely relate to this.
Oh yeah, 100%, especially when like you kind of reach the stages that, like, even you, Lucy, like as a fitness trainer or whatever, and me doing what I do, people are going to look at us, and we're always, when you're in that kind of light, you're going to be judged more so than, I guess, if you want to call them average Joe, but I wouldn't. But everyone in life is going to be judged one way or the other, and it's just a perspective of like that either makes you or that breaks you, sort of thing. Like, I met so many people that, I don't know. I mean, personally, they haven't said it to my face that they don't like me. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, that's cool. But I'm, and I respect you for what you do and, your opinion. Like, I'm still going to smile at you if you were to look at me. Like, I'm very much a firm believer that I don't dislike anyone unless you kind of give me a reason to. But even then, I'm still going to respect you for what you're doing. But that doesn't mean I have to, like, pretend to be nice to you or anything like that. I can be civil sometimes when I'm not drunk. Believe me, when Pebbles kind of hits a certain stage, she gets a little bit ghetto. I'm not gonna lie. She starts speaking some harsh truths, and it's like, Pebbles, you're working. You should not be like this right now. But yeah. She doesn't come out very often, but when she does, trust me,
she's there.
You want to run. You may want to run.
Well, thank you for that notice. Good to know. And I was wondering, did you ever see yourself actually doing something different before you started dancing? Because you said you started teaching dance at pretty young.
Well, yeah, I mean, it started out as like a side thing. I didn't ever think, oh my God, this is what I'd be doing, like really professionally for a living or anything like that. I was a little bit of a lost soul. Not many people actually know that about me, but throughout my years, I've done so many jobs, some interesting ones, some, normal 9-to-5 stuff. And I don't know, I guess I never really clicked with any of them. So really, honestly speaking, only in the last, I'm going to say 4 years. So even after Daniel and I became dance partners, that I was like, this is actually what I want to do. My mom kind of lectured me about it because she knew for some reason, she was psychic about it, that I was going to end up doing something with dance professionally. Probably should have listened to her, but I'm a bit stubborn with my mother sometimes. Don't like to prove her right. But yeah, so honestly, no, I was kind of a bit of a lost soul, just kind of going with the flow sort of thing. But it's only in the last 4 years where I'm like, this is actually what I want to do. All I know is I wanted to have a job that involved me traveling. Like, I'm a bit like a nomad. I like to travel a lot. I like to experience different cultures. I like to meet, all types of people, walks of life, green, yellow, blue, whatever sort of thing. All I knew was that was what I wanted for myself. I just didn't know what I'd be doing to do that. And someone clearly loves me up there or down there, I don't know. And I'm actually doing a job that actually allows me to do that. And I couldn't be happier, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I was hoping that it at some point would lead to like a crazy story on how you and Daniel met.
Actually, I mean, if you genuinely, I mean, are you genuinely asking that question? Because I can't actually answer it.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so this is probably one of the darkest stages of where I am now, to be honest. So, Lucy, you may want to grab some tissues because it may make you cry a little bit.
And what?
But I don't know.
What about Jan? Shouldn't Jan get some tissues too?
This is more kind of female related.
Oh,
but okay. So the year that Daniel and I became dance partners, I was actually 6 weeks pregnant at one point. And I had, I guess, what we call an ectopic pregnancy. I don't know if you know what that is. Really? No? So basically it's when like the fetus lands in like the fallopian tube and starts to grow there rather than the uterus. So it can actually, if it pops, you could actually cause like hemorrhaging, stuff like that, like bleeding out kind of thing. So I am slightly anemic. I passed out while out in London, and I just thought, oh, maybe it's because my iron level was low, and obviously they did some tests in the hospital, and I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. And on the same day I found out, they were like, yep, we're gonna have to surgically remove that. And I was just like, you don't even know how to process that, because it's like, it was good news, but then bad news at the same time. So I was in hospital for a week, waiting for my surgery. I was supposed to have it like a day after I got admitted. So obviously I'm not going to go into details of what that was like, because like no woman should ever have to go through that. Can I just say that? So then when I came home, obviously I was on a lot of medication because of my surgery and stuff. Apparently I even died on the table for a couple of minutes because I was hemorrhaging by the time they got to it. But, you know, praise Jesus that I'm actually here. And then 3 days later, after I came out of surgery, Daniel messages me. He's like, dude, I'm competing in this thing. Do you want to be my partner for it? And obviously Daniel and I have been friends for a long time, and I was kind of in a bit of a low thing. I don't know if it was because I was low or because I was on a lot of drugs. I said yes, even though I had no idea what it was for. And I remember saying, so I said yes. And I was like, what is the competition for? Which I probably should have asked first. And he was like, bachata. And I'm like, and what is that? I literally was like, and then the competition was probably within 2 or 3 days of him asking me to do it with him. And I was like, okay, so how do you want to do this? Because obviously I don't know really what it is. And we met up once. He was like, just turn up at this time at this place. And I was like, okay. And he was like, and we'll see how we go. So I was still supposed to be resting at this point, but I was like, I've been indoors for so long. I was like, I feel like I'm good to go outside. So we meet up. He plays music and he's like, just go with what you feel, Pebbles. Can I just say, those like puppets on strings that you see out in public that dance to Caribbean music? Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I kind of felt like that. Like Daniel will do these things and I felt like jelly, like a rag doll. And I was just like, what the hell is this? And he was like, yeah, that's bachata. And I'm like, this ain't no bachata that I've ever seen. I was just like, I don't know, like, you know, obviously it was sensual, but I didn't know anything about that. So we probably only practiced for like 3 hours the day before the competition. And so on the day of the competition, you know, we turn up, everyone knows Daniel, and then everyone's like, who the hell is this Pebbles? Who's this Asian chick? And I'm just like, hi. Bear in mind, I was still on a lot of drugs at this time because, you know, I had like abdominal pains from my surgery and stuff. And long story short, Daniel and I actually ended up winning this competition and went on to the semi-finals for the UK. So
Wow.
You never heard of bachata before?
I probably like knew the basics, but I genuinely did not know what bachata was, in all honesty, at the time.
So you do say yes to a lot of things.
Pretty much. Well, also because he was my friend, and you know, he knows a lot of dances as well at the time. And I was like, I took it as a compliment that he asked me. So I was like, all right, cool. I was like, if it was salsa, I would have been like, cool, man, we got this. But then he's like, bachata, and I'm like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, and then we've been partners ever since, really.
That's an intense story. Definitely need a tissue, but I don't have them here right now. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, well, it's a very bittersweet experience, but I'm really glad to see where you are now and to see the authentic you and to see what you've achieved. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, so like I feel like when people go through like the stuff that they go through in this scene, I don't tell them. I mean, I don't mind telling them what happened to me, but in my head, I'm like, I'm living proof that you can pretty much do anything. You can pick yourself
Definitely.
up. Like I've got a big tattoo on the left side of my torso. You've actually looked at it, yeah? And I don't know if you looked.
Yeah, I've definitely looked.
But that tattoo I actually got on my birthday the year that Daniel and I became partners, and it actually represents that moment from what happened for me going from, I guess, a dark place into doing what I do now. So it's not like a morbid thing. Like, I'll keep it quick, but like there's like some orchids which are like my favorite flowers in the world. Some of them are closed, which represents the dark moment that I had. But then I have like fully bloomed ones, which kind of represents that when the time is right or when it comes again, one day I'll be a mother kind of thing. So, and then the quote represents what I do now. So
that's really beautiful. And I mean, I do like your mindset in this, because in every bad situation a person has, whether it's first or second hand experience, there's always, if you look deep enough, something positive out of it. And definitely there's been a lot of positive, I think, for you, because it's brought you where you are today. And yeah.
Oh yeah. The most painful 3 hours of my life, but you know.
I think the interesting part is like, how do you get yourself out of such a situation, right? And it feels to me like it's like this it's a mindset thing. Like how I often approach it is like, I like to get in over my own head, right? So I'm also a person that says yes to things, and you know, just trying to put myself into situations that are outside of my comfort zone, and I say yes to them, and then I have to figure it out.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it was like it was hard. It was a struggle trying to pick myself up. Like I was dealing with a lot of like mental and emotional issues. Like the physical side of it, like yeah, it was painful, but I guess in comparison to everything else, like, you know, it wasn't as bad. But when I look back at it now, like some people are like, oh, thank you for sharing the story, or be like, oh, like I never knew this kind of thing. And I'm like, you know, it's okay for people to know and stuff. Like I've definitely gotten over it, because I couldn't even talk about it back then. Like even the thought of it, or even seeing like a newborn child, would actually make me like well up a little bit. But then I'm just like, do you know what? I always tell people it always comes down to a choice. Like I could have really gone to a dark place if I chose to, if I totally given up. If I chose to give up and actually just let it take over. But I was like, luckily for me, I've always been quite a resilient person. And I've been in quite a few dark places in my life, and I've never let them define me in the worst sense. I'm just like, this builds character, I guess. And I tell myself, if I can go through this, I can get through anything, really. And I'm not saying I didn't get through it without the help of people. Like I've definitely had some amazing people in my life that have helped me get me where I am. But just even making that choice on my own to be like, move forward, because I don't like the feeling of moving back, or, you know, or being stuck somewhere. I was like, cool, I've made that decision. Definitely pride isn't one of my strong suits. I'm like, I'm okay with actually asking for help when I struggle, sort of thing. But yeah, I'm not saying getting that mindset was easy, but it definitely helped the fact that maybe it was just the right timing that Daniel asked me. And I'm always that kind of person that loves to help people. Like I love helping people, whatever it may be. And I was like, here's a friend of mine who wants my help. And I'm like, I'm happy to help him. If anything, and Daniel's so going to rub this in my face. I guess you could say, in a way, Daniel kind of saved me a little bit. Oh, he's so going to rub that in my face. If Daniel was listening to this conversation right now, this is exactly how he would react. He would be like, oh, and then he'd go, gay. And I'm going to be like, great, cool. Feel the love, man.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
So, yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool. So, yeah, we've all got our histories, but it's definitely made me who I am today. So
cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. I think maybe at that point we can wrap it up, and it's also a wonderful high note to end on, if I may say so.
Cool. Oh, thank you for letting me share my stories. Definitely had a lot more, but you can always do that another time.
Exactly. I would love to hear them. Well, thank you so much, Pebbles, for joining us and sharing your stories. It was really nice to just talk to you like this again. And I really do hope to see you soon.
No, definitely. Not even hope. It will happen. It will happen.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Well, can't wait to see you guys too. I'm excited. It's in a way, it's a good thing because it gives me more like to look forward to, you know, when this is all over. I'm like ready to go. So
definitely. That's how we should see it.
Oh gosh, 100%. So love to you guys. Love.
Sending love back, and have a beautiful day. We hope you enjoyed listening to Pebbles stories as much as we did. If you like what you hear, follow us on Instagram at backstage.podcast. Catch you in the next episode. See ya.